So we're taking a course in algebra here, so it's probably important that we kind of go on about the rules that we've figured out and how to use them. So today we're going to be doing simplification of your algebraic expressions, and then we're going to, at the end, do a little bit of algebra and see basic techniques for evaluation. So here I'm going to write x squared divided by x cubed square root times x. So the first thing that we want to do is we really want to hone in on this area. Remember that if it's a square root, we have to take everything under the square root to the quantity of. So this will be x squared x cubed to the 1/2 multiplied by x. I'm writing that multiplication out. I might not always do that, but here I will. So what we're going to do is solve this guy first, this little area. And we remember from our exponent rules that this will be x2 minus 3 to the x to the 1/2 power times x. If we didn't remember that, you could go x times x over x times x times x, and then group these into ones. Remember, these go to ones, so we're going to be left over the 1 over x, which is equal to x to the negative first. So when we solve this, we're going to get this expression equaling x to the negative first raised to the power of 1/2 times x. So now we have to keep evaluating these exponents. Well, now we have a power raised to another power. And remember from our exponent rules, if we have a to the m to the n, it's like multiplying them. So we'll have a to the m times n. So here it'll be x to the negative 1 times 1/2 times x. I'm going to put this in parentheses, just drop the x next to it. So this will be x to the negative 1/2 times x. Okay, now we have a new rule. I kind of did this one because it has all the rules in it, pretty much. Now we have negative 1/2 x times x. So what's going to happen here is we're going to use this rule. A to the m plus, or a to the m times a to the n is equal to a to the m plus n. So what happens here is we have x1 plus, or no, minus, it'd be plus the minus 1/2. There's a one negative and one positive. That means that this is going to be x to the 1 minus 1/2, and 1 minus 1/2 is x to the 1/2, and that is equal to the square root of x. So that's how we would simplify that one. This whole thing goes to the x power. We're using all of our rules for exponents to get there, and that is how we simplify our equation. So let's take a look at something else. Let's say we have square root of x plus, or cubic root, let's do something different, 3x divided by x squared. Okay, so now we don't have our exponents raised to everything. This square root only encapsulates the top part. So we want to make that clear. So the first thing, usually what we do is we always rewrite our roots. So we'll have x plus 3x plus 1/3 over x squared. Now, remember this is addition between them. Remember that multiplication is like addition. It's addition. So we know that this x is going to be being added 4 times. So this will be 4 times x raised to the 1/3 power over x squared. Now, we know that if we have the rule a times b to the n is equal to a to the n times b to the n. We're going to use that over here. That'll give us 4 to the 1/3 times x to the 1/3 over x squared. The reason we did this is so that we could take this little bit right here and simplify it more. This 4 to the 1/3 is going to come onto the outside, and we're going to have x to the 1/3 divided by x squared. Now we use our exponent rule. We have a to the m over a to the n. Well, that's going to equal a to the m minus n. So we'll have 4 raised to the 1/3 power multiplied by x to the 1/3 minus 2. That's going to give us 4 to the 1/3 x minus 2 is going to be, we got to get this into a common denominator. So we're going to have 2 times 3 over 3. This will be 4 to the 1/3. Let's see here. And let's change that right now. Let's change that to a cubic root, because it's not going to change. The cubic root of 4 times, this will be x. Now that they have the same denominator, this will be 1 minus 6 over 3, which will be equal to cubic root of 4 multiplied by negative 5/3 x. Remember, so we still have a little bit more simplification to do. This right here is a negative. If it's a negative, that means it gets put on the bottom. So I'm going to have cubic root of 4 over x to the 5/3. So this one can actually be simplified even further, because this right here is going to say we're going to have a cubic root of x to the 5th. That's going to be divided by the cubic root of 4. But wait a second, there's more. These roots right here are both cubic roots. So from one of our rules, we had that rule that said if we have a over b to the n, that could just be written as n a to the b. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to write this as cubic root of 4 over x to the 5th. And this would be the total simplification of the problem. So that was a lot. Let's look at a few more. I'm going to zoom this out real quick. Clear everything. Okay, let's zoom back in. Okay, so let's look at how we would algebraically solve something with a square root in it. Let's say we have the square root of 3 plus x is equal to 1. First thing that we do, and the big thing that we have to know, is that our end game is to just have x. We have to find x. Now what x isn't, so x is not x squared, x cubed, x plus 3. Those are not what we're solving for. We are solving specifically for x. So we could rewrite this as 3 plus x to the 1/2. That'd be equal to 1. To get rid of a square root, we always have to make this exponent go to 1. Because if it goes to 1, then it's equal to the same thing. Remember, 3 to the 1st is equal to 3. X to the 1st is equal to x. x plus 3 to the first is equal to x plus 3. So we're not changing our argument if we make it go to the first. So let's do that. How are we going to make this go to the first? Well, we can remember that we have to raise it to the power to multiply it. So if we have x to the 1/2 here, we're going to have to square it. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So this will be 3 plus x to the 1/2 times 2 is equal to 1 squared. Well, this will just go to 1. Anything to the first, this will go to 3 plus x to the first is equal to 1. Anything to the first power is just itself. 3 plus x is equal to 1. Thus, x is going to be equal. Now we got to get 3 to the other side. We'll subtract it, so this will be 1 minus 3. This will give us x to the -2. This is our final answer. Now let's try something a little harder. X plus 3 divided by x plus 7 over x plus 3 equals x plus 9. Okay, so we have x's on both sides now, so this is going to be a little messy. However, it does have some nice consequences we can see right off of the bat. So we do not want to FOIL this, and the reason is we have this and this. We can break this up into 1 over x plus 7. This will go to x plus 3 over x plus 3. But what is that? Well, that's just 1. So since this is just 1, this is just going to go to 1. So we'll have 1 over x plus 7 is equal to x plus 9. So what we're going to do is, we cannot solve for this. I unfortunately made this a quadratic equation and didn't even think. So we'll get to the point where it's a quadratic and then I will just stop. So x plus 9, we're going to multiply this side by x plus 7 to get this to go to just a 1. We want a constant over here, so this side has to be multiplied by x plus 7. If we thought how we could do that, as long as we're multiplying by both sides, it's like multiplying by 1, because let's just multiply this side real quick by 1, x plus 7. What we're doing is multiplying this side, but we're taking this one over to that side. So when we do that, this just goes to 1. This is going to equal 1, equaling x plus 9, x plus 7. Let's FOIL that out. That'll give us x squared plus 9x from here and then there. And then we're going to go there and there. So we'll get plus, we're going to get we're going to get 9, we got 9x here, plus we're going to get 7x plus, that'll be 63. So we have 1 equals x squared plus 9x plus 7x plus 63. We're going to subtract this 1. We want this side to always equal 0. And we'll get into this when we get into quadratics later. So we're going to subtract 1 from this side. We get 62. Now we can simplify this and add it together. This is going to equal 0 is equal to x squared plus 16x plus 62. And this is our final answer for this one. Let's look at division. So if we had this, what if we wanted to simplify with multiplication? So if we have this, we don't have an x to simplify, but these 7s can cancel. So this one would just simplify down to x. That's a pretty simple one. What if we had, I don't know, y squared over x? Well, we can use our exponent rules and our root rules to say this will be square root of y squared over square root of x. This is going to simplify down into, what would that be? That would be y squared to the 1/2 over x to the 1/2. This is going to go to y squared times 1/2 over x to the 1/2. This will be, well, x to the 1/2 can just be written as square root of x. We're not getting out of that one. But this one goes to 1, y to the first, which is just equal to y over square root of x. So there's some more simplification. We could do a common denominator problem, 3 over x plus 5 over x plus 2 plus 1 over 3. Well, our common denominator will be 3x plus 2 times x. So we could multiply each of them by what they're missing. So 3 times x plus 2 plus 5 over x plus 2. So this one needs to be by 3x plus 1/3. And this one gets x plus 2 times x, x plus 2 times x. This one will be equal, so they'll all be, now they're all over the same thing, 3x, x plus 2. This will be 3 times 3, which will be 9, x plus 2. This one will be 15x. This one will be times 1, so just x times x plus 2. Okay, now we gotta simplify things a little bit. We're gonna distribute this 9 through to these two. We can distribute an x through here, and we can distribute a 3x to these. So let's do our bottom first. This will be 3x squared plus 6x. This will be 9x plus 18 plus 15x plus x squared plus 2x. Then we're going to group what we can add. Remember, multiplication, something so many times. We don't know what x is, so we're going to add up what we do know. So this will be 9 plus 2, which will be 11. So this will be 26x. Our x squared is by itself. And then this will be plus 18 over 3x squared plus 6x. And that's it simplified. This is our complete simplified answer. Okay, let's go down. Now, let's look at plus 3 square root is equal to, or cube root is equal to 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, this is to the 1/3 power. I want to make this number 1, so multiply each side by 3, or cube each side, my bad, and you're not multiplying. Cube each side by 3. This will be x plus 3 to the 1/3 times 3. It's going to be equal to 2/3. So be x plus 3 is equal to 2 cubed, which is 8. That's, if you wanted to think about that, be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 4 times 2, which is 8. X equals 8 minus 3. X is equal to 5. And there is your final solution here. So this is pretty much, this is some simplification. The roots can be a little tricky, so I wanted to go over those a little bit. The next thing I'm going to be doing is we're going to look over what a linear equation is. So have a good day.